I want you to think about a headline you probably saw a couple years ago. Something like, major lawsuit forces real estate industry overhaul. Buyers may now have to pay their own agent. You remember seeing that? You maybe even talked about it with someone and then moved on. Here's the problem. A lot of people formed a strong opinion about that settlement and never updated it. And right now, those people are either sitting on the sidelines thinking things are harder than they are, or they're walking into a transaction with assumptions that are just flat out wrong. I'm Burt Tsuei. I work in San Mateo County real estate market every single day. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what changed, what didn't, and what it actually means for you, whether you're buying or selling right now. Here's what we're going to cover. First, what the NAR settlement actually changed, not the headline version, the real version. Second, what this means if you're a buyer and you're worried about paying your agent out of pocket. And third, what this means if you're a seller trying to figure out whether to offer buyer's agent compensation or not. By the end of this, you'll have a clear picture and you'll be able to make an informed decision instead of one based on a 2-year-old news story. Let's start with the facts. Back in 2024, the National Association of Realtors settled a major antitrust lawsuit. The part that got all the attention was this: buyer agent compensation can no longer be advertised on the MLS. That's the database where agents list homes for sale. Under the old system, every listing included a built-in offer of compensation to the buyer's agent. That piece went away. The other change that came with it: if you're a buyer working with an agent, you now sign a written buyer representation agreement before you start touring homes. It spells out what your agent charges and what you're getting for that fee. That's it. That's what changed. And I know what you're thinking. Burt, the news made it sound like a lot more than that. You're right, it did. Because here's the part that got buried. Sellers can still offer to pay the buyer's agent. That option never went away. The rule changed where the conversation happens, not whether it happens. And right now, sellers are still covering the buyer's agent's fee in most transactions across the country. The total average commission in 2026 sits at about 5.7%, according to Clever Real Estate's 2026 survey. The commission collapse people predicted, it didn't happen. If you're a buyer, here's what your experience looks like now. Before you start touring homes with an agent, you'll sign a written agreement. It outlines the fee and what your agent is responsible for delivering. Most people see that and get nervous. It feels like you're on the hook for something extra. But here's how it actually plays out in most deals. Your agent can negotiate the seller's contribution to cover that cost as part of your offer. It's structured the same way as asking for closing cost help, which buyers have been doing for years. The paperwork looks a little different. The end result is usually the same. And the data backs this up. According to NAR's 2025 profile of home buyers and sellers, 88% of buyers purchased through an agent or broker. That number held steady after the rule changed. People still want someone in their corner helping them find the right home, negotiate terms, and catch the things they might not catch on their own. The written agreement is actually a better deal for you as a buyer because everything is spelled out up front. No surprises. You know exactly what you're paying for before you're emotionally invested in a house. Now, if you're a seller, this is where I want you to slow down and think carefully. You are no longer required to offer buyer agent compensation. And I've had clients come to me saying, great, I'll just skip it and save the money. I understand the instinct, but let's think about what that looks like from the buyer side. If a buyer has to come up with an extra 2.5% to 3% out of pocket just to have someone represent them, a lot of buyers are going to look at listings where the seller is already covering that cost instead. That usually means fewer showings, a smaller buyer pool, and more days on market, which typically leads to a lower sales price. The money you thought you were saving ends up costing you more on the back end. The sellers I'm seeing get the best results right now are the ones working with their agent to figure out the smartest approach for their specific situation. Not a blanket rule one way or another. A strategy that's built around their home, their timeline, and their market. So here's the bottom line. The rules changed. The fundamentals did not. Buyers still want representation. Sellers still benefit from having as many qualified buyers as possible walking through the door. The commission conversation is still a negotiation. It's just happening in a different place. And more transparency in that process is a good thing for everyone. If you bought or sold before 2024 and you're thinking about making a move, whether that's here on the Peninsula or somewhere else, it's worth a quick conversation before you're already in the middle of it. I'd rather spend 20 minutes answering your questions now than watch you get tripped up by something you didn't know had changed. Call or text me directly at 650-274-3598. That's the fastest way to reach me. We'll talk through your situation and figure out what makes sense. And if you found this helpful, hit the subscribe button. I put out videos like this specifically for San Mateo County buyers and sellers. Practical stuff, no fluff. I'll see you in the next one.